try to get some exercise, try to get your body moving. It is just straight up beneficial. All right. So, we shall begin with the third video from Sean's archive. The stuff that he has deleted from YouTube because he disavows MGTOW, because he doesn't agree with these statements anymore. And yet, are these not the very videos that made people interested and engaged with his content to begin with? Let us see what exactly he disagrees with. And by all means, Sean, if you're watching, which you very, very well be, please react or comment below to explain. You certainly could use more interesting stream content than you currently have. Let us begin.
One of the things I've been thinking a lot over the years is the divide and conquer strategy, which is what you might recognize when they divide us by race. This is a very effective communist tactic to break up the native population, is that, well, if you want to have group work, you have to identify around a similar idea. So if we want to have this country work called America, we might say that we all have the fact that we live in the same place in common. So we can all unite behind the idea of Americans, thus we have a group at least on that one standpoint. But what you could do is, if you wanted to break that group down, is instead of pointing out all the ways you're the same, you're going to point out all the ways you're different. Okay, well, you may be living in the same area, but this person is white and that person is black. And you're Asian and you're all these different things. And those differences are bad, therefore you can't work together. It's a very, very effective tactic for breaking down a group, and it's a very, very effective tactic that the left has been using. So me personally, I take up some traits of the left. So I have a high amount of trait openness, which is why you're listening to me right now. And that leads to certain ideas that people on the left would associate. I also have a fairly decent amount of extroversion.
Did that make any sense? He has a high amount of trait openness, and that's why we're listening to him. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just downright confused. Really need to get my VTuber avatar up so I can, get just a kind of squinty-eyed, what the fuck is he on expression. Because that's how I feel when he said that. I was like, what? No, we're not here for your trait openness. We are here for video essays that are giving, or at the very least having, honest conversations about problems that we can relate to. I do not understand trait openness. Please, Sean, if you watch this video, could you explain, or at the very least give a link to what the hell you meant by this?
So there are beliefs that I have that are very on the left side, but I don't share the totality of the left. I still share the movement for the truth, and I think the left is the movement against the truth currently, based on the way they act. But one of the traits I share in common with people on the left is that I've taken up a vegan diet. Someone convinced me 5 years ago, and I said, great. There was a couple months of an adjustment period, and that's pretty much history. I haven't cheated on the diet. I haven't gone back on the diet.
Okay, so I guess for context, Sean was very much on a vegan diet when he made this. He will later dissociate himself from vegans, but we probably won't get to that for another couple episodes. There's a lot of videos ahead of this. So, I guess keep that in mind. He's probably not getting all the nutrients he needs to. And considering that he has since ceased to be a vegan as of, a year ago, he said? I'd have to double check the stream, but he says, well, I'm no longer a vegan, so it's wrong to call me a vegan. You have been a vegan for the majority of your YouTube career and very open about that. You have been a vegan YouTuber longer than you have been a non-vegan YouTuber. Calling the majority of your content vegan is entirely appropriate because, on average, your videos, even not counting your deleted videos, were produced when you were a vegan. You shall continue.
So that's that. But if you're ever around any of the vegan communities, there is an endless amount of divide and conquer. There's an endless amount of division and separation. So you're not vegan enough. Or you might have a group full of vegetarians and a group full of vegans, and the vegans will constantly attack the vegetarians for not being good enough. So there's a really inflammatory photo against vegetarians by vegans where it has a couple people pushing a truck. So it's like, two in the tail and then two on like the front doors. And then there's one guy on the top bed of the truck, and he's kind of pushing the back part of the truck where it says like, vegans are the ones that are pushing the truck, the vegetarians, the guy on the truck bed pushing the back part of the truck for some reason. That's, on the truck, so he's not actually helping. And there's a tiny bit of truth to that, because if you're still consuming milk, which is why most people stay vegetarian, you're still causing the death of cows, because cows that are used for milk are eventually turned into steak once they don't produce milk or once they've run out their usefulness. So there's a little bit of argument with that. However, the problem with memes like that, the one I just described, and the problems with all the infighting with vegans and vegetarians, so you're not...
If people were to stop eating meat en masse, do you think that all the cattle, or did you think that all the cattle would just be set free? They'd just be like, well, you no longer make milk. You're no longer sellable. Go, be free. No. Those cows are condemned to death for the purposes of human utility from the instant they are born. The only way that you're not going to have them die for human utility is if you prevent them from being born. Like, that's it, straight up. Like, we're not India. We don't worship them as sacred animals and treat them like the reincarnated forms of our ancestors. They are livestock. They are born solely for the intention of being useful to humans. If they are not useful to humans, then they are going to either starve to death, be eaten alive by wild animals, or be put down. The only reason you seem to constantly neglect the years of comfortable life that many cattle receive prior to their execution. Am I saying that everyone in the beef industry does this? No. Could the conditions be improved? Sure. At great cost. But you'd rather give meat up rather than pay more for more ethical meat. Hey, here's an old joke, guys. How do you know if someone's vegan? It's easy. they'll tell you. Let's continue.
Vegan enough, you're not good enough. You know, you still, what about the chickens? What about the goats? What about all these things that aren't being eaten? Because really people are exclusively vegetarian, typically because of cheese, which is being rapidly fixed. So because there's all this infighting, you can't really communicate on similar values, where it's the similar value should be we both don't like animals being killed for food. But when you get this intersectionality, well, you don't want these animals being killed for food, but these animals are okay. Or, you know, you say you're vegan, but you still eat honey. Or you say you're vegan, but you still eat mollusks or clams.
What the heck's wrong with honey? We don't kill the bees. We don't kill bees for honey. We harvest the honey. We're not killing them. We're providing them with a safe environment. Would you prefer that we let them roam out in the wilds so that a bear can harvest the honey? You know, by tearing the hive apart, destroying their home for a chunk of honeycomb that they run off with? Would you rather bears eat it? Would you rather the bees just not exist? No, chat, you're right. It is just purity testing. They set an impossible moral standard, and every time someone reaches it, then they just set it higher and higher. We see it with the woke. And this guy has jumped wholeheartedly into the cult, and I quote, because somebody convinced him. So he didn't look at anything fucking logical for this. This was straight up, someone else convinced him through some kind of argument, probably an emotional one, because he doesn't have any fucking logic behind this. Someone used emotion to convince him to go on a strict vegan diet. And he does. But we're 4 minutes in. I'm not hearing anything about gynocentrism, so maybe he's got a point and it's leading in.
And there's endless amounts of division. There's endless amounts of infighting. And I just basically removed myself from the vegan movement because of that. I still have a vegan diet, but other vegans are just insufferable because of that, because they don't actually want to help. Now, me personally, they're vegans because...
So you disconnected from the movement, but you still followed the diet. Keep in mind, everyone, this is a graduate of exercise science. Right? He paid tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, or took that out in loans, to go learn how to exercise most effectively, and he got convinced to go on a vegan diet. And even despite no longer agreeing with the movement, he continued to be on that vegan diet. Like, gee. Alright, we'll see where he's going with this. Maybe he's going somewhere with this.
Because they're crazy, not vegans because they want to actually help animals. I think the ones that actually want to help animals, that actually want to create the movement and not just be weird, are very far and few between. At least in that particular movement. Not to say all movements are like that. So for me, when I go to the store, I say that anybody who can help the vegan movement in any way is a teammate, is an ally.
Vegans equals I won't eat or take from animals/insects. However, I wouldn't mind destroying their environment to travel, have property, participate in the system for others to destroy them, taxes.
Precisely. It's just like PETA saying that they rescue a shit ton of animals, and yeah, they get them out of their original environment, and then they have nowhere to go, so they just kill them. Like, the vegans do not care about the preservation of animal life, or the quality of animal life, or the preservation of habitat. What they care about is that people think that they are special and morally superior. So if this guy does not believe in the vegan movement, dissociates himself from the vegan movement, and yet he's still going to follow the vegan diet and make damn sure to tell you that he is a vegan following the vegan diet, I can't really see this being any way noble or serving any sort of higher purpose beyond I want people to think I'm good and that I'm special. By all means, Sean, respond to this. Prove to me I'm wrong and elaborate on your thought process. Because yes, I have not done enough research. And quite frankly, were it not for the archive, doing enough research on you would be impossible. So if you want people to do research, how about you re-upload all your deleted content so people can get the full picture of who you are? And then perhaps they will be accurate.
So you may be on the paleo diet. Now, one of the contingencies of the paleo diet is that you can't eat dairy. So a lot of times when I go to the vegan section of the store, which used to only be Whole Foods, but now it's Ralph's, Vaughn's, and well, maybe I'm giving my region a little bit. Well, I've said I lived in California before, but many other Safeway for other places that are not California. But anytime I'm in front of the vegan cheese section, I always see people kind of like flustered because, well, me personally, I've tried out every single vegan cheese on the market, and I gotta say most of them are crap. So,
why are you eating vegan cheese? If you're going to be vegan, don't eat cheese. If you're going to be vegetarian, why are you crying for fake meat? Don't eat meat. Your conviction is weak. You want the meat. You want the cheese. You crave it. Your body knows it is good for you. And so you try to fool it with processed garbage and convince yourself that you're somehow morally superior for eating processed garbage. And you have no idea whether or not you even improved anything based on your so-called ideology. But so long as it's hidden behind the mask of the ideology, well, then it's all good, and you can brag to everyone else that you didn't cheat on your diet. Like, seriously. This is the equivalent of saying that you reduced the infant mortality rate by performing abortions. Technically true. Most people probably wouldn't say you're a good person because of it. But we'll see if by the 6-minute mark out of a 26-minute video, he actually mentions, the subject in the title. Hey, avatars, welcome, welcome. I'm getting a lot of subscribers for this. Definitely going to have to make this a regular series. We shall continue. Oh, Yamazaki235, thank you for joining.
I like to do people a service because vegan cheese is quite expensive to say this one, this one, this one, and this one, and kind of point to all the ones that are good. Like if you want cream cheese, you're going to get Miyoko's cream cheese, or you're going to get Kite Hill, which is okay. If you want shredded cheese, you're probably going to go for Daya. If you want sliced cheese, there's Chow, which is okay, but there's a bunch of other small Whole Foods based brands like that. Sorry, I can't name them. I can't remember what they're called. But some of those sliced cheeses outside of Chow. Chow's kind of like the worst one, but it's acceptable. Never eat anything by Follow Your Heart. That's always crap.
The man legit has tried every different kind of overpriced vegan cheese. I mean, personally, I like mozzarella. cheddar's pretty good. The processed crap is processed crap, but it comes in convenient slices. This, like, again, if you're vegan, why are you trying to eat cheese? Why are you eating fake cheese? Just have thinly sliced tofu or something. Or make meals that don't use cheese. But you want cheese. You know you want cheese. Your body really wants cheese and craves cheese. I mean, let's be honest, guys. This is the equivalent of someone who's addicted to cocaine. Fucking taking sugar, making it into lines with the credit card, and then snorting that through a $50 bill instead, and saying that they're drug-free. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, you're drug-free. The fact that you're not actually putting a drug into your system is one thing, but you're still freaking habitually addicted to shoving crystal shit up your nose. Now, no, by the way, legit, this was a thing a while back. Kids snorting pixie sticks. Like, seriously, they were snorting pixie sticks, and the crystals were shredding their nasal cavity and giving them nosebleeds. It was a thing. We'll continue here. He's still 6 minutes in, has not even gotten... He hasn't even mentioned the word gynocentrism once. I mean, I guess I can't really blame him for taking this video down. But if you're going to complain that people didn't do thorough research, put it up. Put them all back up, because this is great for my viewers. This is great for my likes. So, yeah, I'm going to keep doing this. And quite frankly, considering how much publicly available content you use, Sean, I have every fucking right to use your deleted content to make my channel grow. Let's continue.
So I can say this one, this one, this one, this one. I say, oh, what brings you to the vegan cheese section? It's just, oh, I'm paleo, or my neighbor's paleo, or my daughter went paleo. She can't eat dairy anymore because she's lactose intolerant or something like that, or even just lactose intolerant. Those people are allies. Those people are on the side of being vegan because they're helping the movement by giving the companies that make cheese are now getting more money because that person is paleo. Now, that paleo person might not give two shits about being vegan, but they help the movement.
Why do they need to eat cheese? But okay, he's getting to a point with the metaphor here. We'll just continue. I can let it go more than 30 seconds.
And I might like to expand it to any spectrum where it's like anytime someone buys a vegan product at all, anytime someone buys a vegan imitation of a product. So if you buy chorizo, if you buy Beyond Burgers, if you buy Garden, if you buy veggie Hot Pockets.
Oh God, Beyond. Wait, was fucking Beyond Meat a thing this many years ago? Oh, literally processed feed waste from China. Like, you'd rather eat literal agricultural garbage than meat. But you wouldn't, because you're still trying to eat fake meat. Why don't you just not eat cheese? Not eat meat? Like, for fuck's sakes, there's plenty of diets. Like, there have been entire vegetarian religions and subcultures that subsisted on purely vegetarian, non-violent diets that didn't involve any of this fucking pseudoscience bullshit. And they are old. And they have taste fucking food. Why the fuck do you still feel the urge to eat fake meat and fake cheese rather than switching your diet to a palate that is tasty and fits in with your supposed beliefs? And quite honestly, is probably more in line with the beliefs you fucking pretend to live by, rather than the fucking bullshit you eat by having all this fake meat and fake cheese. Hi. God damn, I got a fucking chip on my shoulder against vegans, guys. Just straight up, you want to call me biased in the comment section or chat? By all means, I probably have deserved it. But I don't see Sean backing up anything with logic here. He's too busy reviewing what kinds of vegan cheese are suitable for what format of cheese you eat. By God, even I don't know what kinds of regular cheese are better for that. It's fucking mozzarella or processed. That's about it.
Tofurky actually makes pretty good ones, though those are really hard to find, at least in my area. So anytime someone purchases a fake meat product, I'd say that they're helping the movement, whether they're vegans or not. Because the number one reason that people don't go vegan is because of taste. That's the number one reason people don't give up cheese. And if you got a sizable amount of vegan cheese is correct, and you made them cheaper, there'd be no vegetarians. There'd be no lacto-vegetarians. Okay, they've already figured out ice cream. They've already figured out baked goods like cake and stuff like that. They've already figured out a lot of the big stuff. They just need to, once they figure out cheese, that's going to be a massive movement towards veganism for vegetarians, and it's going to be a big assister for a lot of other people. You know, all the people who are lactose intolerant, whether they're vegan or not, is going to be a big deal, and so it'll help bring people in. So anybody who purchases a vegan product is going to help. That's why I say, even because there are a lot of people like what is it? The guy from Queen, Brian May. He's like a vegetarian sympathizer or a vegan sympathizer. He says, I wish I could do it. I just can't do it because of taste, but I appreciate and respect what you're doing. So to someone like that who is not capable of making the change, it's a little bit difficult to change to being a vegan. Someone who's not capable of making the change, what Brian May could do is he could just purchase some vegan products. Or what he could do as well, since Brian May has shitloads of money because he's a member of Queen, is he could help invest in a vegan company because he's capable of doing that. And so maybe it's like this, where Beyond Burger was able to make the best tasting veggie burger to the market. Now, for those who've not tried it.
Okay. For those of you who haven't tried it, the Beyond Meat and Impossible stuff contains a metric shit ton of estrogen and has to substitute for the lack of actual meat taste with a bunch of sodium. It is estrogen and salt. That is the Beyond Meat Impossible Burger. It is literal agricultural garbage with a bunch of salt and estrogen. That's your substitute burger. So you know what? If you want to transition, but you can't get the estrogen pills, just eat a whole bunch of Beyond Meat. You'll get your tits. No problem. Again, almost 9 minutes in. We are over a third of the way into the video, and he has not mentioned gynocentrism. He's mentioned allies, but again, this is all about his fucking veganism. What is this going to be? Some kind of metaphor for how like PUAs and black pillars are allies against gynocentrism or something? Like, jeez. Just continue. We'll get through this. God, I don't want this to go to 3 hours, so trying to keep these at least somewhat reasonable. But he's already got freaking half-hour video, and I'm pretty sure that legally I have to insert some comment every couple minutes or so. Otherwise, this probably violates some kind of copyright. I don't know.
It is not as good as actual meat, but it's the best veggie burger by far. So they were able to do the research and development for that hamburger.
Keep in mind, this is an exercise. Like, he took exercise science as his major in post-secondary education. And he is judging the quality of veggie burgers not on their nutritional value, but on their taste.
Because Tyson Chicken, a massive meat company, said, "Hey, we believe in your product and we're going to work with you. We're going to give you some money for research and development." So that's great. Tyson Chicken, if you want to say the vegan argument, well, they're mass murderers, they're killers of animals. How dare Tyson Chicken? A lot of vegans have said, not all vegans, but a lot of vegans have said this. But if it wasn't for that relationship, we wouldn't have the best tasting veggie burger. If it wasn't for Daya, who
Okay, so you're okay with supporting what you call mass murderers so long as they support your cause. All right, so long as they benefit you, what you view as morally reprehensible is acceptable. Okay, just making sure we're on the same page here.
just merged with a Japanese pharmaceutical company that does vivisection, which is study on rats. A lot of vegans were pissed about that. To which I said, "Are you fucking kidding me? Do you know how many more people are going to be brought vegan cheese because of this merger? Because this $300 million company merged with small little Daya, which is like
So you who went vegan out of concern for animals say, you know what? Who cares if a shit ton of animals died and suffered? We got better tasting vegan cheese out of it. Isn't it worth the sacrifice of a shit ton of animals so that we get slightly better tasting food that we don't even really need to eat? By fucking God. I am damn curious as to what the original comment section to this video looked like.
a company that started like 10 years ago or something like that. A lot of these companies are very recent. So it's amazing when they get support like that. And I think we should start taking this in stride with the movement against gynocentrism. I think we should take the same battle.
Okay, 10 minutes in, he mentions gynocentrism. All right.
That I recommend for vegans is anybody who helps the message is an ally and doesn't actively go out of their way to hurt it. So of course, if they're like a
who defines who hurts the message? Hey, Lonnie Lewick, thank you very much for the sub. Who defines who hurts the message? Who defines this? Are you even going to define gynocentrism? Let's see who you consider an ally against gynocentrism, shall we?
What are those people called? They go into the movements, they're going to a protest, and like some people are protesting for, I don't know, police brutality, even though I don't think that's a thing. Someone's protesting police brutality, so I'm going to hire some agents to go bomb cars and throw shit and destroy the movement. That way the police brutality protest doesn't go anywhere. Provocateurs or agent provocateurs, I think is the word for that. So as long as they're not that type of person, I think any...
Oh, so he knows about agent provocateurs. And yet, he was so willing to move away from MGTOW, to disavow MGTOW, because someone on the MGTOW subreddit was saying some distasteful things. Did he consider them agent provocateurs at the time? Did he consider that perhaps he might be being a tad hypocritical? Or is that just an excuse for trying to boost your videos in the algorithm because you know YouTube hates that acronym? Well, only he'll ever know for sure. Let's continue.
Anybody who is going to help the movement against gynocentrism or against the female tyranny that we're currently in. Like a lot of the feminists love to say that we've never seen what it's like for women to rule. Women have been ruling this country for at least the past 100 years, and they've been ruling this country for maybe even longer than that, because women's power is very indirect. Even women are indirect in multiple ways. If you ever ask a girl out, you're going to say, well, hey, would you go to a movie with me? Or preferably not a movie, prefer like a dinner date or something like that. And she might say, if she doesn't like you, she's going to say, Wednesday, I'm kind of busy on Wednesday. I'm kind of, that's a week. I'm not ready for a relationship. I just got out of a bad relationship. By the way, if she just got out of a bad relationship and you are attractive, there's no force that could pull her back from you. But if she's using that, I just got out of a bad relationship, I just all these excuses, it's an indirect way of saying that she doesn't like you. So women are indirect like that, which means women's power is very indirect, and so she may not be the one pushing the buttons, but she may be the person advising the person pushing the button. And so it might be that let's say 100 years ago women couldn't vote, but she may very well say, if you don't vote for this guy, I won't have sex with you. And it could be like that. So if she really wanted power like that, she could use it like that, because women have a lot of power over men, especially the vast majority of men who they perceive to be below average. Whereas that Match.com study, or I think I actually know is OkCupid did a study, and 80% or women found 80% of men to be below average.
So this is the first video where he mentions that study. Interesting. Let's see if he goes into a little more depth on that.
So it's statistically impossible, but it's just how women perceive men. So if you perceive that you're higher value than your mate, you're obviously going to have more value than they do. That's how any sort of business relationship works, especially if there's a little bit of truth behind the higher value. So if we're going to have this battle against this female tyranny that we currently have of letting every single person and their grandmother in, letting every terrorist and rapist and murderer in, and it might not be mostly immigrants, but if you create this massive influx of new people likely to get more Democrat votes, because the Democrat Party has been really just utterly destroyed by the new media. Fantastic. I can't wait till the old media dies, because that's where we start getting real truth. That's where we start getting, these mild debates between Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson, where one's more individual center, one's more group center, where Sam would be more on the left, Jordan Peterson seems to be more on the right, though these terms are very hard to define. I like Stefan Molyneux's term, where it's just like, I'm on the side of truth. So whatever is correct is correct. I might argue a little bit more for the group, I might argue a little bit more for the individual, but whatever works is going to be the thing that works. So I like to keep an open mind. You might call that objectivist. I don't really. It's hard to hit the political spectrum, because there's so many different definitions and redefinitions that it's just confusing. So let's just say there's going to be more people on the side of truth. And as we hit those different different parts, we need to recognize when people are allies and people are not allies. So if you're from the MGTOW movement, I think that the big goal of the
MGTOW movement. Everyone, how many times over the past several years have we heard, time and time again, been repeated ad nauseum, MGTOW is not a movement. It is a philosophy. Now, no, Warband is not MGTOW, but we can at the very least be accurate about what MGTOW is and what it is not. And it is not a movement. Now, third video. Perhaps you will come to this realization over the course of the several MGTOW videos he has made that he has since deleted or renamed. We'll see. But at the very least, we can say that video 3 was his first mention of MGTOW and his first association with MGTOW. Let us continue.
MGTOW movement is to bring things back to a place where it's safe for men to get married and it's safe for men to have children. The only way we're really going to get that is a massive change in the laws.
He is conflating MGTOW with MRAs. MGTOW is not a movement with political goals. It never has been. He's conflating MGTOW with MRAs who seek to try to change the system actively through political involvement. Alright. Well, you know what? I guess we can say that at very least, by video 3, he wasn't doing thorough research into what he was talking about. But it's video 3 out of what? A couple hundred? We'll cut him a little bit of slack and see if he grows. Well, grows into what he is now eventually, but we'll get there.
Either we keep the government. My point would be get rid of the government. The women wouldn't be able to do all this shit if it wasn't for the government. So I'm more on the voluntarist side of this. But for those of you, voluntarism is a very rare belief, just like veganism is a very rare belief. Maybe 5% of people believe that. So, or you're one of the people who wants to keep things as a lawful society. A lawful society. And when I say voluntarism, I mean this is an eventual goal. This is a goal that could take 200 years to get to a society without government that has the psychological backing to where people can be responsible enough to not need the government. But if you're someone who's going to go on the government route, which is what we're probably going to go on, at the very least, every single law that feminism has gotten over men, so the divorce courts, alimony, child support, welfare, any sort of government welfare, and by the way, this is not something that's gone over very much in the MGTOW movement. This is still pretty important too. The welfare is not just for women. Welfare is also for corporations. There are a lot of corporations that should have failed that stay in power with bad business practices because the government bails them out, because people have said, or in this case, female voters have said, it's okay to bail people out when they're in a bad spot. So it's okay to bail out whatever bank you want to bail out, or whatever company is failing, or give them land grants, or give them a massive tax write-off so nobody else gets, and things like that. Though I'm not a fan of taxes either. So anybody that's going to help this movement in the right direction is an ally. So it may be the specific set of group. Let's say it's 10% of men, whether they identify as MGTOW or not. 10% of men go the I'm not going to get married route ever unless these laws are changed. And then everybody else, because 10% is a pretty big movement. They say the Revolutionary War happened with 3% of the population. So if you have...
There's a big difference between I'm not going to get married until the laws are changed and I'm not going to get married. Quite frankly, if you have a condition applied to whether or not you are going to get married in the future, then so far as I'm concerned, you're not MGTOW. That is why I personally cannot consider myself MGTOW, because there is a chance that I will get married in the future for the purpose of having a strong family. There's a time limit on it. I've accepted there's a decent chance that it probably won't work out that way. But until I commit to not getting married, and that includes having kids, because if you have kids with a woman, you're effectively married. But so far as I'm concerned, so long as that is something that you have a non-zero chance of in your future, personally, you're not MGTOW. So saying that your being MGTOW is conditional? No. You're an MRA. You're a men's rights activist, and you are holding your marriage as hostage. MGTOW, from my understanding at least, is unconditional. No marriage, no cohabitation. Guys in chat, you can give your 2 cents on this. Comments below, give your 2 cents on this. My personal view, whether or not you agree, hey, we'll see. But let's continue. 10 minutes to go? A little under that, yeah.
10% of the population. That's a pretty big bluff there. Pretty big.
Pliskin, would I get married in the West? Fuck no. If I get married, it's overseas and I'm staying there. That's why I'm trying to build up skills that can be utilized remotely so that I'm not landlocked to the West in order to do it. And I can fuck off to the Philippines or whatever in order to get a wife and start a family. But no. In the West, hell no. The only way that I would even consider getting married is in a place where the laws are better, and there's going to be at least 20 years before they get to a shitty state. But that's why I can't consider myself MGTOW. As for in the West, no. If I'm stuck in the West past my allotted time scale, which is about 15 years, it's just not happening. If I can't leave the country and sustain myself outside of the country, it's just not happening. Period. This country will burn to the fucking ground before I get married.
Bluff is not the right word. A pretty big negotiation or bargain. Those aren't the right words either, but let me just say it this way. If I'm going to negotiate, I'm going to have my certain terms. And if I say, you either do this or the deal is off. So that's a big time move. You either revert all the gynocentric laws that were created by feminism, or we don't step up to the table. We don't step up to get married, because it's not a safe place to do that. Especially false rape accusations, or that can happen at any point, or false child abuse accusations that are actually apparently fairly common. So you have the 10% of men that are saying no, which can displace a lot of women, because that makes it less likely that they will get a good man. Because let's say what women are looking for are men that are rich and successful. Not having children, it makes things a lot cheaper, and it gives you a lot more free time, and it gives you a lot more time to work on yourself. And since MGTOW is a very self-improvement movement, I think the chances, though I don't have stats of this, I think the chances of them being more successful is very, very likely because of those beliefs. So you have those people that are there, and then you have all the people that are around that movement. You have the Jordan Petersons, you have the Stefan Molyneux, people that are suggesting that people get married, but suggesting that people get married in a healthy way. So that way that, they're taking the risk, because the risk is phenomenal.
Okay, perhaps I'm a bit confused. Are you suggesting that the people who suggest a man get married in the West in this day and age, but in a healthy way, that they are allies? You are saying that people who advocate for a decent slave owner are somehow allies against slavery. Okay? Am I completely off base, chat? Or Sean, if you happen to see this, please elaborate and tell me how I'm completely off base. Because it sounds like you're saying that the people who advocate for men making themselves debt slaves to the government, but in a healthy way, are still allies against gynocentrism. Maybe the next minute's going to change things around here. 8 minutes to go. Maybe I'm overreacting. Let's find out. Let's find out.
For getting married, you could, if you make the wrong move, if you bet on black and it turns up red, to make a hopefully accurate roulette metaphor, and you fail and you roll snake eyes, you fuck up. It's a fuck up that will last the rest of your life. It depends. Well, depending on how long you're married, depending on how good your lawyer is. So those people are probably not going to be convinced. If every single man was said MGTOW or else, these changes will probably happen very quickly, because women are very dependent on men in terms of for their actual survival. Men are dependent on women for the survival of the actual race. But at this point, that the
at least until we get artificial wombs going, which, let's be honest, probably not that far away. And, okay, let's be completely honest. If every woman were to suddenly go poof in a Thanos snap today, research on the artificial womb would probably be completed in time to continue the human race. Maybe I'm off, but I definitely think that we toss a whole bunch of our ethics out the window to get that stuff done as fast as possible.
male bargaining chip is a lot more powerful than the female bargaining chip. So if all men said that no until these laws change, this would happen instantly. But because that's not going to happen, at the very least, we need to start trying to breed more and more successful people. And the only way that's going to get bred in is by people like Stefan Molyneux, by people like Jordan Peterson saying, here's all the right ways to live. Here's how to have self-knowledge. Here's how to break your own bad decisions. And that's going to make it more likely that the Nawalts will come out or the good women will come out. And that's going to...
Okay, so yeah, he's advocating for Nawalt, and he's saying, Jordan Peterson, a man who is addicted to... what's the appropriate word? I'm just going to say drugs. He's got a drug problem, and he raised a whore of a daughter. Yeah, that's the kind of man who you want teaching you how to live a good life. You want a man addicted to what? Like benzos, benzene? He's addicted to some sort of like counter-psychotic medication or antipsychotic or antidepressant. He's addicted to some kind of pharmaceutical. And his daughter's a fucking whore. And that's the kind of man who you should listen. Like that's the best option for you to listen to if you're not ready to just say fuck it to the whole thing. Benzos, thank you, Sid. Yeah. Okay. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he remains consistent on this in future videos. Let's keep going. 7 minutes.
Make it more likely that people will say, hey, we need to start dismantling some of this stuff. And so much like what feminism has done is start to dismantle all the positive things about Western culture. Like if you're talking, I made an example in another video about dieting. And if you're going to have a society where 30% of the people are obese and 70% of the people are overweight, there needs to be a massive dismantling of the cultural norms of society. So one of those cultural norms that was dismantled was that mom's not at home. So she's not there to cook food, which means that we need more processed foods. If we're going to have a processed food succeed, it needs to be desirable to most people, which means we have to shove a bunch of sugar and oil in it and salt.
Or you could just give the kids to the father. Mom not being at home? No, dad can still cook. Dad often does cook. Dad ain't the one going out and buying McDonald's for the kids. Dad ain't the one yelling at fucking fast food places about how they need to feed their kids. How dare you be out of chicken? No. That's women. Women are the ones who take their kids to fast food. Men, shocker, know how to cook. They know how to cook for their kids. They know how to cook healthy meals for their kids that don't take a long time. So maybe, just maybe, the solution to keeping kids from becoming obese would be to put them in the custody of the parent that knows how to cook them a healthy meal on the regular. But, you know, maybe over the course of the next, year? Like, you've got at least another 50 videos before we catch up to anything that's even in your existing archive. Like, seriously, I'm going to have to do 2 of these fucking meetings a week just to catch up with you within the next freaking half a year or whatever. I don't know. It's late. I can't do the math, but yeah, I'd have to do 2 of these sessions a week, covering 3 of your videos per session, and then maybe within the next 3 months, I'd catch up to your existing archive. I haven't done a full count. I got 30 some odd videos of your shit downloaded already, and your current archive is nowhere in sight. It's going to be a while. So, yeah. We'll see how much your thoughts on this change over the next, couple years? Seriously, if someone could date these videos, that would be appreciated. But let's continue. 6 minutes to go.
All these things are not too healthy for, and all these chemicals to preserve it because nobody's cooking anymore. And then you add shitty schools that don't teach you how to don't teach you anything about diet. You have impulse. You have like the single motherhood and the mom's not here, so you've got a very, I think it was an R-selected, very impulse type decision, instant gratification, and all these little barriers that were broken down because of the feminist.
What the fuck are you talking about? Mom's not here, therefore impulse. What? Let's see. Let's look at the success rate of single father households where mom has absolutely no presence. Oh, yeah, there seems to be a shit ton more self-control and self-discipline when mom is completely removed from the equation. Why the heck do you keep talking about how mom's being removed from the family when in 95% of cases, the mother is the one with custody? And it's the father being removed from the household. So
it allows people to be massively overweight. Much like all these barriers that were broken down because of the feminist movement allow for all these tortures against men. And so what we start doing is we start rebuilding those pillars, and eventually, after we rebuild enough, we'll say, okay, time to get rid of all these things that are terrible for society, which, again, is all divorce courts and welfare and alimony and open borders and things like that. But it's only going to happen if we start allying with the right people. So what you might do is define a bunch of terms that are going to be progress for you. So one of the terms of progress is getting rid of welfare. There are a ton of people that are getting rid of welfare, so there are a ton of people that could be allies to the MGTOW movement. It could be Ben Shapiro, who is very happily married and has 2 kids, very, very against welfare. He's an ally. Stefan Molyneux, very, very against welfare. He's an ally. Steven Crowder against welfare. They're an ally. Or he's maybe I'm trying not to misgender him or something.
Okay, so remember, in summary, men who are advocating for other men to subject themselves to usury and sign contracts to sign their lives away to women and the state, those are allies of MGTOW, according to Sean here. All right, just so we know where he stands as of this video.
Like that. So even though, sorry about that, even though they disagree with the movement of men going their own way, if you haven't looked up MGTOW by now, it means men going your own way if you're someone who has not seen anything about the movement. And it's a movement for people.
You mean movement as in your own knowledge of the philosophy is so flawed and skewed that you consider it a movement. I wonder how many videos before you say it is a philosophy, not a movement, or if in your years of supposed research you never actually came to that realization. At what point did you actually start watching Hammerhand's content? Because if you'd watched basically any of his content regarding MGTOW, you would have heard it's a philosophy, not a movement. So I'm guessing at least by this point you haven't listened to Hammerhand, and yet you have the gall to get upset at Hammerhand for not watching your shit. Let's see. Lack of research, spreading misinformation and outright lies, and something that took, 5 seconds of research to discover? Well, apparently by your third video, you weren't doing that yourself. So, let's see how long it takes you to meet your own standards.
People who are saying, well, you probably figured out now, it's basically people who are, men are saying no to marriage. Because marriage has no benefit to a man outside of children or outside of, and a lot of women these days don't have any value outside of sex, and so if you're not going to bring actual virtues and morals to the relationship because you've had too many sexual partners, or you don't know how to cook, or you don't know how to any sort of traditional female roles, well then what do men need you for? You have all the male utility. Men are still expected to live up to their roles, but women are not expected to live up to their roles because of feminism. So so what do you bring to the table besides sex? And if the answer is nothing, well then why would I get married to you? Because I can get sex outside of marriage. If you're not going to be a mother, if you're not going to be a supportive role, so I can do my work in the workplace and I can have someone help me with the children at home and help me all the home stuff. If you can't do all that stuff, why would I get married?
I mean, nothing revolutionary, but this video was several years ago. I don't know, I mean, nowadays it doesn't seem like anything new, and quite frankly, the way he's saying it, it does sound like he's still regurgitating points he heard from someone else. So, can't really give him credit for originality there. I'd say he's beating a dead horse, but who knows? Maybe the horse was actually alive and healthy 4 or 5 years ago.
So that's the MGTOW movement. So anything that further...
Although, I suppose I could ask, in the present day, Sean, so what's Brittany Venti providing for you that makes it worth all that you're doing for her? Enough to say that you're officially dating. What is she doing for you? Did you need to be dating her to have sex with her? Have you even touched her? Have you even been in the same room as her? Because I think it's quite hilarious that meme she shared about you two having consensual sex and Undead Chronic supposedly objecting. Yeah, that was you two photoshopped together. So have you even taken a physical picture together? Is there any proof that you've ever been in the same physical space? Who knows? Maybe by now there has. But I think that's fucking hilarious. I mean, let's be honest. With every passing minute, it's easier and easier to see why you destroyed this video and tried to hide it away from the world. Seriously, I owe the guys who archived this so much. 3 minutes, let's finish this off.
There's that cost. You might say that the traditionalists are going to help, even though the traditionalists could be just as bad. They can just be, well, let's trick them just enough to bring them back into the marriage pool. We'll say we're good people, but really, if anything goes wrong, I can just divorce rape him later. If I don't like him in 10 years, I can just use all the gynocentric laws that are to ruin his life. Now, if we can hold those people accountable, if we can start pointing these things out, maybe we can take those guys as full allies too. But anybody who's on the spectrum of getting welfare is going to be someone who's on the spectrum of healing society, because that's going to remove the subsidies of single motherhood. And you may very well define what some of the other terms are. Maybe you get rid of false rape allegations. That's a very, very big concern. Well, those are the two I can think off the top of my head, because I don't want to have to sit here and script this. I feel like if I'm just constantly looking at points or constantly looking at data points and things like that, and that are just pre-practice, it's not going to sound as authentic. So there's two big ones: false rape welfare, alimony, child support. Anybody who's looking to get rid of those, I'd say they're an ally. Just like I'd say anybody who's looking to get rid of, anybody who's willing to support any sort of vegan product that would help people make the transition to being vegan, because there's one certainty with that type of movement, is that people will not go vegan until the fake meats and cheeses and fake dairy and fake animal products taste exactly like the same thing, or taste exactly or better than the real thing.
Okay, so let's wrap up his analogy here. And it's surprisingly accurate. So he's comparing companies which murder and torture animals as being beneficial to vegans in the long run. The same way he is saying that men who convince other men to commit themselves to lives of misery, usury, and servitude, if not outright slavery, are beneficial for men in the long run. Yeah, you know what? That does sound fairly consistent. Let's torture men now. Let's have men suffer now so that maybe in the future men won't have to suffer as much. The same way as let's kill a shit ton of animals now and support people who kill and torture animals now so that maybe in the future fewer animals will have to be killed and tortured. Sounds completely ideologically consistent.
And it's cheaper. So anybody who helps that action by investing in companies, by doing mergers, by just buying the products themselves, those are all allies. So I think we should start removing ourselves from divide and conquer. We should stop saying, oh, hey, this guy's different from me because of all these things or those things, and we're all different here, and how could he ever say this? Fuck all that. Find out where we're similar. Let's start working together, and let's end this. Let's end this. Let's save this society. Or at least, if there's going to be a crash, let's make that crash as light as possible, and let's get back on our feet as soon as possible. Well, let's call that a video. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For those of you who love staring at blank screens or screens with very limited graphics. On that note, I've been looking for an artist to actually draw me a neutral screen, kind of like what Sargon of Akkad has, or what Teal Deer has, those types of things. So prepare for that. I have to probably talk to multiple artists about that. I've got to articulate what exactly I want. So that's going to come in the future. For now, you see nice little text that hopefully says the title of this video, whatever I decided to title it. And other than that, if you like the video, how about you throw a like on it? How about you throw a comment on that? If you have some better ideas than I do, why don't you put those in the comment section? There may be something I didn't think of. Or you can throw a nice little subscribe down. Maybe hit that bell if that works. I don't know if that works. Do it anyway. And I will see you in the next one.
Except we can't comment on a video that is no longer hosted on YouTube. Until I chop up this live stream into